What's up, Crash It Nation? This is Jonathan Wood. We are live on YouTube. It's been a while since we've been on here. We've had a lot of softball games in the last few weeks, and man, when you're playing softball every night, it's hard to take up some time and to get on here and talk about what's been going on. A couple drivers coming on here tonight. Um, they're going to be joining us here soon. I've got Cody Bedsworth. He's going to be trying to get on here later, and Dillon Cardwell is going to be trying to get on here as well. We've got a so we had a show in Fulton, Missouri, on June 15th. That was our last show for Lucky Sevens Promotions, and man, it was a great one. It's first show I believe they've had since 2014 or 15, and it was just an amazing event to be part of. I'm glad that Fulton brought us back, and it was fun to be around and see, the track and all the people of Fulton coming and supporting the show like that. Really helps bring future shows to that event center. But without further ado, we started the event. We had our Power Wheels, then we had our youth bump and run, and Leland Bell getting his first win of the season. Leland did really well, getting out there and trying to see here, make sure you guys can hear me. Okay, the chat's open. It's been a while since I did this, guys. So yeah, but Leland Bell, he got out to an early lead, and Hunter Bish didn't have time to track him down. Gatlin Folks coming in third. Camden Tobin with another strong showing, pulling in fourth place. Gavin Stark in fifth, and Caleb White getting the hang of it still. He got sixth place. It's really good to see those six drivers make the trip to Fulton. My daughter was really wanting to make that show, but she had a softball tournament that same week, so we weren't able to, bring her with us. So they were playing for the championship when the heat was pulling on the track, so she missed another one. But man, after that we had, the water. I don't know who was running the water truck, but they did really good. I was kind of worried when I seen them having just like a full-on water truck, but they did pretty good getting the track watered down. And after that, it really seemed like it smoothed out and it got packed in pretty good. Right after our youth classes, we brought our figure eight races. We had a slow start because we were still teching in derby cars when the show was starting. During the youth class, there were still derby cars being teched in. The show was supposed to start at 5 p.m. We started at 5:30. It's the first time we've missed a start time in a while, and we're going to make it's probably partly my fault. We all were really busy that day, kind of got there a little later than we wanted to. But once we got it started, it seemed like the night went pretty good. So we knocked out our figure eight class, our demolition derby, our three demolition derby classes, a youth class, and the powder puff in 4 hours. So we were really knocking through the stuff. But in our heat races for the figure eight, that's what we had next. We had Anthony Wells coming out in the first heat, really putting down a dominating performance. The 29S of Jason Stark getting second, and he was really fighting his way up through the field. And I didn't know if he'd ever catch Anthony, but he made his way to claim that second place spot. And on camera, we didn't really have him there. His transponders weren't working, but we went back and watched the video, and he did get second. So Jordan Youngmeyer was our third place finisher, and Ricky Bobby coming in fourth place. He had a strong showing. I didn't get a chance to really talk to much of the figure eight guys on what they thought of the track, but I was trying to make my way around. I thought the track was put together well, and it was really huge. I mean, that track was long and it was pretty wide. It seemed like them guys were really getting up some speed, and it was fun to watch as someone there watching the event. It was really fun. Made some difficulties trying to record the whole track during the derbies, but it was pretty awesome. just seeing all the people that joined and uh, just how long the track was, and them guys looked like they're having a blast out there. So heat number two rolls out. Dustin Ferguson, new ride, really made that car look like it was on rails the whole time, and it was really fun to watch. And uh, man, he had a battle with Matt Youngmeyer and Dillon Cardwell. All three of them in the seven. He was driving his dad's car in this one. They were all battling it out. Corey Burton was right there. Um, Lane Tigger. I know it's not Hine because they came and told me it's like Tigger Hen or something. I'm still working on it, Lane. I'm gonna get it down one of these times. But Robbie Kelly coming in sixth, Dylan White seventh, Tom Jones, in the new driver out there coming in eighth, and Zachary Kennard finishing out in ninth place. I feel like the track is really starting to pack in at this time, and we'll talk to Dylan here in a little bit and see what he thought about, how the track changed throughout the night and what he thought about the track surface as a whole. But in Heat 3, we had Dustin Jordan coming out, bringing home the win in Heat 3, and our second place and other transfer was Jared Snurridge, getting second place. So in this event, we took the top two out of each heat, and everybody else had to go to the Bs, and then we just took one out of the Bs. But Chad Bish, and that hot shot, he got third place. He was really in a battle. This was one of my favorite heats to watch because, man, it looked like Braden Cleathurvis had the fastest car out there. But, man, him and he would get flying down through there and just get bundled up. And you could tell he was really trying to come back and win this thing. Um, but in the end, it was Dillon Cardwell and or Dustin Jordan and Jared Snurich bringing home the win in that one. Then in Heat 4, probably one of the heats of the night, I'd say, came out on the track. It was Dillon Cardwell, Garrett Ferguson, Zach Burton, and Alan Fisher. Them four were battling for the lead. Tracy Snurich was right behind them. She ran into some problems, and Corey Burton sounded like it was missing a little bit, but kept seeing him punch the steering wheel. I don't know if it wasn't getting fuel or what again, but he was obviously frustrated. And then Rhett Keesley in seventh, Ethan Daniels in eighth, and Dylan White in ninth. So this heat was pretty stacked. Um, and that the top three and four, they were going back and forth each and every time. And I think let's see here. Yeah, they were going back and forth each and every time. And let's see if I can rename it. But I think Cody's joining us right now. We'll get back to that. We're gonna visit with Cody for a little bit, talk about his run and how, what he thought about Fulton and what's been going on, with this summer so far. Cody, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hey, thanks for joining us on the Crash It podcast. Uh, so Cody, we're talking about Fulton right now, and we haven't got to the compacts yet, but I'm glad you joined in so you can kind of recap it with me.
Okay.
Cody, how'd you, before we get into that, I like to start all of our new callers or new guests on the show, kind of give a little background to all the Crashed It podcast listeners. I know a lot of them listen to Hard Nose and they've heard you on there, and uh, but we have a couple that they don't listen to that. So, kind of tell us how you got into Demolition Derby, Cody.
I mean, honestly, just some buddies back in the day. I figure eighted a little bit. Been a long time ago, but back when Fulton actually had a derby, been 10 years ago or so, I took a figure eight car up there a couple times, and then I ran a couple mod cars with Brandon Piter back in the day. and then I became friends with Brady Smith and started helping him with his cars and riding with him some. Then just decided to build my own, honestly, because the team show came up. Been like 4 years ago or so now, and ended up just going to run with Brady. So ended up building a car of my own. That's kind of how I got into it, and then obviously
Really?
now I've gotten my brothers and my dad into it. So
Yeah. So did I hear you right? Did you say you started with figure eight, or did I hear that
yeah,
wrong?
nope, I started with figure eight.
Wow. So another transitioned figure eight to derby driver. I did not know that about you.
Yep, drove a Geo Metro 5-speed. I only figure eighted probably just a handful of times, 10 or 12 times, but I even won Fulton, but it was one of the last derbies Fulton had with a figure eight, and I was in a Geo Metro 5-speed. So
Well, heck yeah. Well, that's awesome. I did not know that about you. So figure eight back then was pretty stock build, and then you're gotten into even probably when you started mod compacts, they probably what they are today. Um,
no, definitely not what they are today. Whenever
so
I started
kind
mod
of
compacts, it was 12-inch bumper bracket and 6 plates. So
yeah, so kind of tell everybody the transition or the just the way the sport's been changing as far as the mod compact derby um, cars go. For all you listeners that don't know, Cody Bedsworth, he's one of the premier elite drivers, I'd say, in mid Missouri. He's been out the Blizzard Bash a lot, and yeah, I mean he's done well everywhere he goes. And so, kind of tell us about kind of the evolution that you've seen personally.
I mean, like I said, I got into it that first year I got into it. It was kind of just a 12-inch bumper bracket, 6 plates, nothing real special. Didn't put a lot of time into the car. The first one I built, I put a little bit of time, but nothing like we do now. And then the following year, I don't know what happened, but rules went everywhere. We went to full cradles, tie-ins. I bought a cradle and went to 16-inch bumper brackets, 8 plates, and a lot of things changed, which I learned a lot in that first year too. So building a
I
car
think,
went from not very much time to a lot of time.
yeah, I think a lot of that stemmed for just from Blizzard Bash leftovers or Carnage leftovers. You want those cars coming to your show. I feel like that's kind of why we seen
Yeah,
it, trickle down into our fair shows and stuff.
right. But I do like where it's at now. A lot of people do, yeah, they want to see cars bin and this and that and blah blah. But everyone from around here is running them bigger shows pretty much that are in the compact. And if you got cradles and you got all that stuff, you might as well run it all year, in my opinion. And the way the rules are now, you should be able to build a car and run it all summer anyways. And with car prices, I wouldn't do it anymore if I'd build 4 or 5 cars every year.
Yeah, that would put a damper on the fun. So, kind of tell us where the passion of, the sport comes from. Like anyone that's building the mod compact's gonna have tons of hours in the car, and there's got to be some kind of passion that drives. Like, where's the drive come from?
Uh, I mean, a lot of it's just people telling you, "Hey, I'm going to come back and beat you at the next one," or this or that, or well, I mean that's where I get a lot of my drive from, anyways. I mean I don't really have any enemies, but there's a lot of people that when we're on the track, we kind of go after each other and get out and shake hands at the end, and they say, "Oh, I'll get you at the next one." Okay, I'll go home, make sure you don't.
Yeah,
That
that's
and
the competitor in you coming out. I love
yep,
it. I love it.
yep. I don't like to lose. I don't mind
No,
losing, but I don't. Obviously, no one's gonna like to lose. So
yeah, I don't think anyone in this sport sets out like, well, I'm just gonna go, you know, lose. They're
Right.
they're there for some one reason or another. They're either there to put on a show, and um, there's losing a derby, and then there's like really losing a derby for me. I feel like some drivers find different levels of satisfaction of what's winning in derby. If they go out there, put on a show, get the crowd off their edges, off their seat, all of them on their feet, and bring home a mad dog or something like that. Sometimes that's a win in anyone's eyes, but there's sometimes you gotta drive too. You gotta drive for that win. So
Yeah. I've had a lot of them runs that I call a win, and I didn't come home with no money, but I came home with the mad dog, and the people that were going to beat me didn't beat me, and I had fun. And
yeah,
I've
yeah.
had a lot of them nights.
I think everybody has those nights. As long as that guy over there doesn't beat me, I'm happy. And
Yeah.
so
Yep.
talk
I've
about
definitely had a lot of
Billy.
them. Honestly, I've more of my driving style until this year came from just driving hard and bringing home the mad dog. That's all I really ever wanted to do. And this year with Blizzard Bash coming again, and we got a hell of a team going this year. And I kind of had a teammate, I guess I can say names, that Tyler Pickens told me I need to tone her down a little bit and try to sandbag a little bit here and there. And this summer I've kind of tried to keep my cool, and stay back for a little bit, and get down to the end. And it's done me some good the last 3 weeks. So
Yeah, that's I've definitely seen a little bit of a change in your driving style, but I wouldn't call it, I'd call it just driving a little smarter and keeping your cool a little longer.
yeah,
So
yeah,
the
I
728,
can't really sit there and not hit anybody, but I've been sitting back and picking and choosing my shots a little differently this summer so far.
so the 728, that's your number, right? 728.
Yeah.
Is there a story behind that, or is there you just pick that?
My son, he was born July 28th, so
Oh yeah.
that's whenever I changed my number to 728.
Yeah, every time I see that roof sign come in, I get a little excited. Uh, you've been known to lay out a few shots here and there, and do you have one like your hardest hit that you ever could remember? Do you have one of those in your memory bank? Like, hey, that was the one right there.
Well, I don't like picking on people like that, but I did have one hell of a shot on Wesley last year at Eldon across the track at one of your
Yeah,
all shows there. And then
yeah,
I had one hell of a shot I guess it's been 2 years ago in Shelbino and Greg Neal.
yeah. I
Don't like
seen
to
videos of that
bring
one.
up a couple of
Holy
them, but
smoke!
oh yeah,
Yeah, I seen
that was a
videos of
good one.
that one of Greg's. It was, oh man, that was a nasty shot. Uh,
Yeah,
but that's why people come. People come to see those hits, and I bet you made some fans that way.
yeah.
So before we recap your Fulton run and a couple other ones real quick, um, do you can you share with like some of the future builders out there that might be listening to this podcast? Um, did you run into any roadblocks with building your first couple years of something that really something that you've learned over time that's helped you out or
I mean, biggest thing that I've really learned with these compact cars that has helped me out is when you're putting the motor and trans in, just make sure your axles are right. See people all the time with these mod cars go out there and make one or two hits or get hit in the wheel one time and axle flies out of the cup. And I honestly, that's where I spend the majority of my time putting the motor in. I mean, my carburetor's usually right. I don't have to mess with it. I can drop the motor in, hook wiring up in less than an hour. And the only thing that I pay attention to and really make sure I'm getting in right is my axles.
well, that's a
I make sure they're flat, straight, 3/4 way in the cup. If they're not, I'll make an axle. Not necessarily make an entire axle, but I'll pull snap rings off the back, slide them off halfway where they're, to lengthen the axle, or I'll shorten it up and cut the back of it off and weld it. Just
Yeah,
making sure
that's
the axles are right where I want them in these cars. Because if you can keep an axle in it, I mean, my motor's going to run all night until it locks up.
yeah,
If the
that's a
battery goes
great
dead.
piece of advice right there for anyone listening. Uh, them axles and the angles that they're at or whatever, that's just so important for a front wheel drive car. Um, shoot, I do. Okay. But so let's talk about Fulton. So before the Derby, how were you feeling? Were you feeling pretty confident? There was at least 3 Blizzard Bash teams there.
Uh, yeah, I was feeling pretty confident. I knew. I mean, I went to the Derby the weekend before. Got lucky enough to win that one and come home and looked over everything on the car. Everything seemed fine. Drove it around some. And I felt confident, I guess, because I knew all the parts had proven themselves that are in it. It's something
What
would
Derby
leak or
was
was going to
that?
break. Carlinville.
So you pretty much drove
Carlinville,
it all
Illinois.
weekend, right?
Yeah, I was there the weekend before Fulton. Me and Brady Smith decided to drive up there actually and go run with a buddy, Justin Lane, up there. So
Awesome. Well, congrats on that win. So I'm feeling pretty confident going in. So when you're pulling on the track, do you still get, I don't know, do you still get what's going through your mind when you're pulling on the track?
oh, a lot of different things, a lot of different nights, honestly. But in Fulton, I pulled out there knowing that there's an entire stand full of people that know me. A lot of them there to watch me, and I didn't want to disappoint them. Didn't want to put myself out early over something stupid, And I kind of knew that there was going to be a little bit of a dogfight off the start, and I knew I could stay out of it if I wanted to. I chose to kind of step back and stay out of it and let all the shit unfold and try to be there at the end. And it just happened to work out for me.
Yeah, you did a great job. And so you had some people there that were running with you. Who was helping you
Yeah.
out? Is your brother Tommy, right?
Yeah.
And Derek was running one of your cars.
Yep.
And Scott, right?
Yep.
Cool.
Yep. They were all there. So.
Yeah, they're all there. And how's it feel to come first through fourth? Or first, I
Oh,
guess they paid the third, didn't they? So first through third.
yeah. It felt pretty good to bring, to take 4 cars from one shop up there and go 1 through 4 with them and bring them all back home. Brought all of them back home still running, actually. So.
That's always a good feeling, especially if you can unload it yourself. Were you able to unload yours
Yep.
yourself? Yeah.
Yeah, I drove all 3. Drove 3 of the 4 of them off.
I was gonna say one of them would have been kind of hard.
Yeah, the one was transmission was kind of leaving it didn't want to move anymore. So, but we
Take us through that.
did drive
Take
Tommy's
us
right off, drove mine right off, and drove Derek's right off. So.
Yeah. So take us through that derby. Um, so right off the bat, you guys was that the game plan? Was it kind of cut the track in half and choose a corner, kind of like we've seen at Blizzard Bash, like a side of the track?
I mean, yeah, we wanted to basically stay together. If someone come and jumped on us, go from there. But
Looked like a couple people come down to that far end down there where there really wasn't much lighting. But it was in the daytime. Good thing for for the compact class, but it looked like someone came down there and you guys just piled them up into the corner over there. So it looked like to me, I was like, oh, they're claiming that into the track right there. So
Yeah, we're trying to anyways.
yeah, it was actually. So what'd you think of the track?
The track was really good, actually. One of the better tracks I've been on. So
Yeah, them guys worked hard on that. They had 5 skid loaders there, and man, that just makes the night go good when you got a lot of help like that. And they were learning. They were learning, kind of the derby stuff. But as the night went on, I felt like they were really getting the hang of how we wanted, the tracks pulled off the cars pulled off the track. The next cars coming in at the same time, and felt like it went pretty good as a
yeah,
whole. But as
I
far
think it
as the
went really
surface
good.
went, the surface it looked like that track was hard. Like,
Yeah, I mean there was one little soft spot in it on the entrance side in that left corner, but it wasn't like get stuck in it soft. I mean,
it was almost
I
there.
guess
I
it.
know exactly what you're talking about, but uh, I don't know if they rolled that far down. Um, when they had like a big steel roller there. I just don't think they rolled
Right.
that far down. But they definitely had a bottom to it. You have anyone you want to thank for helping you out in the shop? Or I mean, it's got to take. Yeah, I hope you have some help out there.
No, me and Tommy get along pretty good out here, but yeah, we do have some help here and there. And I mean, my dad comes out, some, especially if he's going to run that weekend. He'll be over here a little bit. Uh, Here lately, Dudley's been over here quite often, so helping out where he can.
Yeah. Well, congrats on that win, and then the very next week you went to Higbee last weekend,
Yep.
and I heard you pulled out a W there too.
Yeah, got lucky enough to get it there too.
And I was kind of just looking at Showtime officials. It looks like they're having points this year. Um, I seen some. I think that was points written down on some paper that they posted online. So it has you
Yeah,
lit.
they
You're
probably
leading their point series. I'm pretty sure that's what
yeah,
that was.
probably so. I haven't paid attention to it, but I know that they did have point series last year. So
But so I know one of my best memories and is of any time I ever ran was whenever me and the brothers took the podium. How's that feel?
uh, it feels pretty good.
Has that been a common occurrence, or was that the first time you guys went 1-2?
That's the first time me and my brothers ever went 1 and 2. So
Congrats to you guys. That's that's awesome.
we went second and third one other time, but
Well, that's hard to do to go first and second, or first, second, third, and fourth. That's awesome when it happens, and uh, for any siblings that are in the sport, I hope it happens to you guys out there because it's a awesome feeling to bring the cars back to the shop, with trophies on each one of them, and it just a lot does a lot for the morale for sure.
yeah, that's something we've been wanting to do now that he got into it and started running with me. So
Do you have anyone you want to thank? Any sponsors or anything?
I mean, I'd like to thank Brendan Bailey with On-Site Glass. Or some of y'all know him, anyways. He does come out and cut the glass out of these cars for us and stuff. So
That's one of my things I've always had. Is I've had a good glass guy come out and take the glass out. I hate doing.
oh yeah, and Zur Engineering, he's sponsored me some, especially for that Illinois show whenever I ran my Spring X car. But we all, got Zurich cradles in their cars and pedals and shifters and stuff like that. So and he's definitely cut me some deals on some stuff. Wouldn't do a lot of business through him. So.
Well, what else? Do you have any other plans that you want to share on here for the rest of your Derby year? Or are you just gonna kind of roll with the punches, see what comes up?
I know we'll all be in Eldon. That's the next one on the list there this Saturday. So
We're excited. That's gonna be should be a pretty good track as well. They've been working on it for the last 2 weeks, and we were up there today, and that's looking really good. We got some rocks on the top. We're trying to get off there before the Derby or before any of the events start. But other than that, it's
go
going
ahead
to
and
be a
throw
real.
some pavement down.
Uh-huh.
Go ahead and throw some pavement down on it.
It should be pretty hard.
Well, that's good.
Are you guys gonna
Yeah,
run?
I mean, we plan on being up there. After that, I don't know, what our plans will be. We're definitely going to start thinking about Blizzard Bash and start building them. So mine's sitting here half stripped. So gonna have to get
So
it in the
you
shop,
guys
start
are
working on it. And
Blizzard Bash bound again, right?
yep.
Awesome. Glad I'll have someone up there to watch. So
Yep. Going back with a little different team than last year, but we're
last
happy about
year,
it.
for anyone that wasn't there or hadn't seen it, yeah, you kind of had some bad luck during that main.
Yeah. Had a ball joint break real early.
Was that carnage where your steering wheel broke?
Yep. Carnage is where me and Tommy actually had steering wheel take us out.
No. Well, that's what I meant. I forgot about that. So yeah, so carnage, he was driving. The car looked really good. He was driving it down, and the steering wheel broke. He was turning it with his hand, kind of like the center of it, and they made him get out of the car for driver safety reasons, which we understand that. We've been there, but uh, he hated seeing him get taken out for that. So
Yeah, I didn't like getting out of the car for that, but it happens.
well, thanks for coming on the Crash It podcast and kind of sharing a little bit of insight on, how you got into the sport and how your drive went. Because anyone that wants to watch the Derby, you can go to the Crashed It page, or I think Derby's at the Show Me State Facebook page has it up there too. But there was several people videoing it. But uh, great job, congrats on the win, and see you at Eldon. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, that was Cody Bedsworth. Like I said, he's just one of the premier competitors that we have in the compact class here in Missouri, and he's really making his mark on his derbies this year. He's won 3 in a row, and he's going to try to make it 4 in a row at Eldon this week. And we wish him luck with his future derbies this year and Blizzard Bash. We're glad to see that he's going to be back out there. So our next guest coming on to the Crashed It podcast. We got one waiting in the wings. It's Dillon Cardwell. Dillon, you out there, buddy?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. So, Dillon, you've been on the podcast before, and we were talking earlier in the year how you were going to try to put a win under your belt.
Yep.
Fulton, Missouri, a hometown show. Uh, pretty much for you. How far do you have to drive to get to that one?
It's probably
Just
6, 7
minutes.
miles.
All right, 6 to 7 miles.
Yeah,
So
it's not
pretty
too.
much a hometown show for you.
Yep.
Um, how does it feel to come out here? For anyone that don't know, Dylan, he was able to run it down through the heat race, punch his ticket to the main, had a really fast car all night long, and ended up bringing home the win. How's it feel to get that first win under your belt?
It felt great. Finally luck into one. It was a good night for us for sure. Pretty good feeling to take home the trophy.
So, how'd the night start out for you coming into the show? Did you have any? Were you feeling confident about how the night was going to go? I know you're one of the ones that send me Snapchats through the week, kind of how your car, the inside look at the shop time that I get. It's amazing from all these drivers, and it makes me appreciate the wins more than if I didn't know about the time that's going into these things. And you're always the one that sends it. Had a pretty good week leading up to that. We were fresh off a new Bloomfield. Do you have anything you had to fix before then?
We had a couple of things to fix from New Bloomfield. Had to fix an A arm and an axle, but that was about it. So the cars were ready to go pretty early in the week. Took mine and Dad's car, so we was able to get them done early and just sit around and stare at them the rest of the week. Felt kind of nice.
That's good and bad sometimes. Sometimes you have too much time on your hands, and yeah, sometimes your mind wanders on what you could change on the car, and sometimes that's not good to start tinkering with it right before the show.
Yeah.
But um, so how'd your night your first race? You were in your dad's car, and I kind of talked about that heat. How'd it go for you? How'd it play out in your from your driver's seat? How'd it pay off? Like play out? Sorry, jeez.
It wasn't a very pretty heat. The track was just insanely slick. I mean, hard service, and they just watered it. Went out there in the first lap and hit a banana peel, spun out once, got it turned around. It seemed like I spun out every other lap in that heat. Just, yeah, it was crazy. Just slick.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people, man, you can tell they hit that e-brake and they kind of leave it on too long and it's just whip all the way around.
Oh yeah, I locked all four brakes up in the first corner and shot past it. I'm like, oh man, it's gonna take a little bit different driving on this one.
Yeah, and that's one thing I love about the figure eight, just watching the adjustments that drivers have to make throughout from heat to heat. I mean, the track changes, and
It
having
changed all night. Every single race was different. It seemed like
and so you were double duty in it. So the next what heat were you in the next time?
I was in heat two, the first one, and heat four in my second heat. So it was pretty well back to back heats. Got out of one, drove around, and pulled right back out on the track. It seemed like.
Yeah, because they had five skid loaders there, and man, it made it really nice because we could
Oh yeah.
keep the cars coming in. Even if we had a couple cars break down, they'd be pushing them off. We'd still have cars rolling into the
And them
next.
guys
And
had it moving quick with the skid loaders. I thought they did a great job.
yeah, they did. That was one of my biggest compliments is having the skid loaders there. Um, for that, the 4 hours was from start to finish, and we did all them
Man,
classes. That was credit to the skid loaders.
yeah. I was
We don't
watching
have the
picture videos in daylight. I'm like, you never see that. Usually
yeah,
they're at 10 o'clock, and this time it was at like 8:30.
yeah, yeah. Derby was done at 9:34. So um, I happened to look down. I was checking the time. I was kind of curious to see how fast we'd get everyone through, and uh, we like to put on a show, and we like the fans that just have action in front of them the whole time, and
But not a
worked
full.
out really good. I felt like once it got started.
Yeah.
So Heat 4, um that was a close battle, wasn't it?
It was a great heat. Very, very fast paced heat. A lot of lead changes, it seemed like.
Yeah, we took the top two, and there's 3 or 4 of you guys. I know for fact 3 of you guys were there.
Yeah,
I
it
know
seemed.
it's between you, Zach, and Garrett. I mean, every corner you might be in first, you might go to third.
Oh, it was
And
crazy.
I loved it for that was one of the moments that we wish we had a scoreboard just so everybody know. Like I felt like the majority of the people that were actually watching, it's pretty easy to track the heat races, so they do.
Mhm.
And I kind of would look out on the crowd, and they were just freaking. You'd see different groups of people just standing up, pumping their fists, like, and then
Heck
they'd get up. You'd see them sit down, like their guy would go from first to third. They'd just sit down that whole section,
yeah.
and I love seeing that.
It was awesome getting to drive up there with Zach and with my dad's car. I mean, just two Cardwell cars out in front, and I haven't got to race against Zach yet. So I mean, it was just a blast to be out there with him.
Yeah, that was a good heat. So then after that, you just went straight to the feature because you won that heat.
Yeah.
So how'd the track change from heat four to the feature? Describe the track for the listeners.
It was
Some people,
completely different track. I mean, the heats were like ice. I mean, you couldn't turn them, just slick, fly past the tire. I didn't grab my e-brake at all during the heats, it seemed like. And the feature was almost the exact opposite, tacky and fast. I mean, it was a hard, just not very slick, cornering good. It was a completely different track.
I was hoping to see some of them laps. Because the way the track was getting tacky, I mean, that feature was fast. I mean,
Oh yeah, we'd shoot through them intersections. It seemed like we was running 45, 50 mile an hour. It was
I
crazy.
bet. Yeah, that was a long track, and you guys got to let the motors eat, and
Yeah, cars were hooking good.
those are my favorite kinds of tracks to be on. Is the ones that you can in your head you can see down at the other corner cars coming out. And you kind of judge like where they're going to be compared to where you're going to be at the middle,
Yeah,
and you just stay in it. You can just pick a different lane, and
it was a
seemed like there's a couple times that the holes just opened up for you, and they didn't open up for other people, so that kind of helped you out. But you were willing it down there, that's for sure.
appreciate it. Yeah, we definitely found some holes. It seemed like everything was opening up for me when I'd go through the intersection. Got very lucky with that. That's part of figure eight racing where the luck comes in.
And so Father's Day was the next day. Your dad seemed like he was very happy with the
Oh yeah.
way that you drove them cars. He was kind of standing off to my, off to my right a little bit, right in front of me, and I was just watching them during the race. And um, that's what I love seeing is just that people have so much invested in these cars, and I just love seeing the family members that are there to support people and
Yep.
that definitely had a part in the cars, and they're just up there having a time, making memories, and
Well,
that's
I thought
something
I was excited. I get out to the pits. I think he was more excited than I was. Started
he
jumping
just
up and
pumped.
down. He was loving it.
So that's a good Father's Day present, and that was kind of the seemed like that was the way it went all night long. Trey letting his dad win, but
That was nice of him.
yeah, as his dad's car. I talked to him afterwards. I said, "You let him win that?" He said, "Oh yeah." He
Or
said, "That was my dad's
we weren't
car. He
sure
let me
he was
drive it."
driving a
So
good car that night, and he would take the loaner out there and see what he could do with it.
we've seen Rob win a lot of derbies in that car. He's won like six. I think he said six derbies in that car. So, but so how'd the feature go? Take us through it from the driver's seat. What was your perspective on it?
I thought it was a good fast feature. I mean, started off in second row back, and Nick and Jake jumped out to an early lead, and then they kind of got up into some lap traffic, and I was lucky enough to catch back up. And I mean, it was just the whole race. It seemed like nonstop action. I mean, sometimes you see pileups and stuff, and it just seemed like everything kept moving. Wasn't a lot of slowing down.
Yeah, I think you're just in the right place, right time some of that time. But everyone I talked to said, man, that track was tacky. It was right. And
Made a lot of drag racing. You'd come out of them corners door to door with somebody, and a lot of times it was who was going to go through the intersection the fastest. It seemed like.
yeah, and there was some hard hits in the middle.
Oh yeah.
Definitely caught a few of them on video. Haven't made TikToks on them yet, but there were some. really good racing. I just loved seeing all the door to door racing that it seemed like got to see a lot more of it um, at Fulton than we did at New Bloomfield. And I credit the size of the track to that. But
Yeah, it seemed like everywhere through the placing there was somebody trying to race the next person up. A lot of people passing spots and just a lot of good little races going on during the big race.
that's usually how it goes. There's little battles that Jake was running a really good race. I think something broke on his car, and tough luck for him because he was right there where he needed to be for a few laps, and then something went wrong with that car. And uh, I seen him smiling though after the show. It really instilled some confidence, I think, back into that car for him.
Yeah.
Um, it looked like it to me. I mean, he might have always had confidence in it, but I just seen him walking a little differently after that race. Like, yeah, it's still got it, baby. And I just love the competitors that are out there. Johnny Egger getting seventh place, fastest lap. I don't know if he got it in the A's or in the heat race.
Oh, in the
He had
feature, I mean, it seemed like the lap times are faster in the feature than they were the heat, just because everybody's
yeah,
cornering better.
yeah, he had a fast car all night, so I don't know,
Yeah, it was moving.
but but yeah, different top four pretty much this week. Clinton Hartley getting in Chilton's other car. It was nice seeing him break the top four.
Yeah.
Uh, I told him before the race, he goes, I'm driving that old 02 car tonight. I said, oh shoot, you're gonna be on the podium. He goes, no way. I said, so I'm telling you, something's with that car.
Yeah, I was glad to
But
see him out there and up there. It made it fun.
yeah, and it had to. I didn't get a chance to talk to Dillon, but for someone that's rode around with him so much, it had to make him feel pretty good throwing him in a driver's seat and
Yeah.
seeing him actually make the feature and then even going on to place the top four. It had to make him feel pretty good. But it was nice to see Dustin Ferguson up there getting a second place finish. Them guys have been fighting hard for a podium finish for a long time, and
I thought those guys drove good all night in heats and feature and everything. I thought they had a good night of racing.
yeah, they did. There was a few times like I'd see some cars hit some people in the corners, and I was waiting for the retaliation shot, and sometimes I just didn't see that happen.
Yeah.
Um, there was a couple times I was like, "Oh, someone done messed up, and here it comes." But it seemed like to me the drivers were really just trying to race their race this one, and
Too
maybe
early in
it's
the season for people to be retaliating, I think. Everybody's got
yep.
new cars, not ready to tear them up yet.
That probably is part of it, and I hear we're gonna have some more new cars coming out in Eldon. I can't wait to see
Yeah.
uh, the builds that we have coming out for that. Um, Sometimes you get the rollover from the bump and run cars that might show up.
Oh yeah.
You know,
I think you're
that's
gonna have a lot of cars at the bump and run Thursday. From what it sounds like, it'll be a good show.
I'm gonna say we'll have over 20. I don't know how much we'll have.
Oh, I
Uh,
say over 20. I'd take the over if he was doing over under 20.
so, yeah, that's my over. That's where I'm setting that mark. I think last year we had 18 for that show, but the year before that we had six, I think. So I think we'll definitely have over 20. Um, we'll see.
Yeah.
I don't really know on that one, but do you have anyone you want to thank for helping you get your car to victory lane?
Obviously, thanks to my dad. He's pretty well the idea guy. Comes up with everything, works on everything. He gets them there. Teammates, obviously. Corey, Zach, Anthony, Nick, Braden, Angie, all of them. Uh, the Rackers family, they got a car lift, so we're over there all the time. It seems like bugging them with my car on their lift, and that's about it. My
Well, that
sister,
helps
she's
out.
always there watching.
It helps out having someone that you know with a lift. Uh, so people, you said your dad helps you work on your car a lot, and we know that, but some people are under the impression that you're just like Carl Edwards and you just jump in the car. You gotta
That's what
stand
it
up
feels
for
like
yourself here.
sometimes. I do quite a bit of work, but before we started this, I had not very much mechanical knowledge, and he's taught me everything I know about him, and he's definitely the head mechanic when it comes to the cars, but I definitely work on them.
So yeah, I just got on for some reason my chat just popped up.
Oh, Anthony and
Uh,
Zach have been blowing it up. I choose to ignore them guys.
top two drivers in the league.
I
But yeah, and they said the track was 320 feet by 120 feet, so it was longer than a football field. And I guessed that when I got there, I was like, this thing is freaking huge.
I
And
thought the size was just about perfect. I mean, some people didn't like it, thought it was a little narrow, but even then, I thought it was a great track.
anyone that's complaining about that track can drive on the track that I'm looking at chat. 2014. They can go look at the videos of that.
Yeah, was that in Fulton as well?
Yeah, that was the graveyard smash. Yeah, that was the last graveyard smash, the big one.
Heck yeah.
And yeah, that was the that track was that we had concrete blocks to go around
I'm glad they
for
got rid of those.
no
Pyder was talking about those. I'm
tires.
like, if I show up and they got concrete blocks going around, I'm hitting one.
And then we had the whole track was enclosed in concrete. I was really excited when I got there and seen dirt walls all the way around it because that's a lot easier on equipment. Um, my daughter still wouldn't have made it, but that was one of my concerns. Like, we were gonna go, she could have not had softball. Like, she was gonna be driving, but I was like, man, I hope they don't have concrete all the way around that thing
Yeah,
because
concrete's hard on cars.
it's rough on frame rails. And yeah, Anthony said, guy makes one feature and gets lucky.
He's ridiculous. That's what our team group chat is all the time, just each other making fun of each other, it seems like.
Yeah, so um I just thought like it was a good night of racing and we see I've always said to everybody that comes on here or anyone that's won with figure eight, it seems like after that first one, they just come a little easier. And we'll see if that's fruition comes to fruition for you and maybe the wild card racing team.
Yeah,
You
that's what
guys are
everybody
showing,
says. I'd like to see it be true, but you never know. I mean,
you
I
guys
hope
are,
wild card racing get a couple more through this year.
well, you guys are showing that you can be competitive. I mean, you had Nick Long running the second place finish over in New Bloomfield, and you back that up with you bringing home the win in Fulton. So
Nick's been driving very good this year. I mean, Nick's had a good start to the year.
yeah, he's been driving really well, and I thought he was driving a really good race again. He just got caught up in some traffic, and I
It's a
don't know if he.
little team on team action. I accidentally pushed Braden into Nick, and then Nick breaks his wheel because Braden hits him. Like, are you kidding me? Out of
I
all the
was gonna
guys
say,
standing.
looked like one of them wheels got laid over a little bit.
Yeah.
I seen some team on team, and it wasn't just. It seemed like there was a lot of team on team crime this week through multiple teams. I've seen some multiple teammates getting into each other, and I love the reaction that I see out there on the track. That it's usually drivers like they like snap their head over and look who the heck just hit them, and they're like freaking teammates taking me out.
Yeah, I think it was Heat 4. I was in there with Zach. You're counting, somebody's counting down, and feel somebody hit me in the ass before we even got to the countdown. I turn around to Zach. I'm like, you kidding me? They haven't even threw the green flag yet, and you're already hitting me.
Well, yeah, gotta leave on two.
Yeah, that's
But
what he told me afterwards. He said, "Hey, if I'm in last, I'm leaving on two, even if you are in front of me." I'm like, next time go around.
yeah, sometimes you leave a little too early, and then you end up like old Dawson last year leaving on.
Yeah,
But yeah, I'm excited to see who shows up for the bump and runs. That,
I think there'll
that
be. I'd say 28 cars. If I had to hit a prediction right now, I'd bet on 28 cars showing up.
28 cars. Yeah, that's a good number. That's a tough line there. I think you might go with 30 just because
It's been getting
I
bigger every year. I mean,
feel like we're gonna hit 30, but 28's a good line. That's a tough line there to choose from.
we will be sitting the bump and run out. We will not be racing.
I'll still say 30. And that's sometimes that affects the car count. I mean, it's tough when you got racing the very next night and um you just never know what's gonna happen. I mean, most of them bump and runs are just the good thing about them is not much damage usually. Damage controls at a minimum. You might have an axle or something you have to replace, but as
I
far
always
as
love
tires get
I always
laid
love
over.
at the bumper. You got the one guy that just decides to send it over the jumps halfway through the night. There's always somebody. Everybody
Yeah,
else driving around them.
yeah, that's Corey last year.
Yeah. Yeah, I will not be riding with him. I think he's racing it, and I will not be riding with him if he plans on jumping again.
Oh, he's probably trying to get his gonna come back and try to defend that title from 2 years ago.
Probably.
But well, what's your plans for the rest of the season? You gonna keep trying to put some wins up in the figure eight, or
We're gonna try to get some more wins for sure. See how the point series goes out from here, and kind of just play it by ear. As of now, I'm gonna try to be at every single one, but that could change halfway through the year. Seeing how it goes, you never
yep,
know with figure eight.
I think you've cracked the top 10 in points now, so
Yep.
you're going the right direction.
Yeah, rough start to the year for sure. I think I was 21st going into Fulton.
Yep. So just for the listeners' point of view, so is that your first feature that you made this year?
Yeah, it is the first feature I made this year.
See, I didn't even have to look. Your teammates pointed that out for me. So.
Yeah, they usually do.
But well, that lets you know that you've got what it takes to get it done. So
Definitely a
uh,
confidence booster.
with the amount of competition that we have this year in the figure eighted, just in all the classes in general, it's always nice to be able to put one in the podium. Seems like every year, especially in the figure eight, there's never easy heat anymore just to make
I
the
was talking
feature.
about that with of one of my teammates the other day. It's like every single heat's been fast paced and competitive. There's no luck of the draw anymore. You got to go out there and perform in every heat.
Yeah, you perform in the heats, and then you find yourself in the features. And I think the longest feature we've had this year is 6 minutes on the by the YouTube time. And when
It's
you're doing that
insane.
many laps that fast, that sometimes that's with some red flags in there, or maybe a little pre video, a little display or something added onto that. So I'd say the average time is like 5 minutes for a feature.
That's
That's getting
booking it.
it done.
Yeah, fastest figure eight drivers in the country for sure.
Yeah, and we've had, the track chaser, that Randy Lewis. He's been like 2,900 and something tracks or something.
Hmm.
And he said, man, that Missouri figure eight racing that's where it's at in the country. So
I agree with them. It's
maybe even
awesome.
the world as far as figure eight goes. But you guys have held your own the last couple of years. Anytime we get some out of staters come down, the last couple of years we've really you guys have held your own and uh, still finishing in the podium and not letting them. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I wish they'd have some kind of, Blizzard Bash or Carnage for figure eight where they could come up with some rule base and then just go battle it out somewhere. I think that'd be fun. Be a good time.
yep, may happen soon. Who knows? I hear there's facilities being built. We'll
Ah,
see. We'll see.
love to hear that.
But yeah, well, congrats on the win. Uh,
Thank you.
Thanks for taking us through kind of what you seen or how you felt throughout the figure eight and how it's good to get an on track perspective from someone that was out there, just to how the track changed and to hear that it held up pretty good. Them guys worked on it really hard. And that's all you can ask as anyone that's helping with promoting. That's all you can ever ask is just having the whereabouts to actually work on the track and get it right before the show starts.
Yeah, I'm pretty good buddies with the guys that kind of were in charge of the Bobcat running and track building. I know they worked hard at it. Worked over there a couple weeks in a row, and then, like you said, had 5 skid steers there and everybody in one. Man, they did a good job.
Yeah, they did awesome. Especially, we told them some things that we could to do to improve that show, um, and they really helped us out. Though I felt like they wanted, you could tell they cared about how the show went. It wasn't just like, well, it's here. Uh, we're gonna do our best. They actually called me a couple times and asked what I thought, and it was nice to get that input. Sometimes you don't get that from people that are, helping us get to the show put on and stuff.
Yeah, Case, one of the main guys in charge, he texted me the next day. Oh man, I can't wait for the next one. That was awesome, great night. And I'm like, yep, can't wait for the next one at Fulton either.
Yeah, but yeah, they're just going on and on.
Just ignore them guys. Bunch of clowns.
I always go to broken seat bars. That we seen that firsthand.
That's Zach's fault and Braden's fault. They can't weld any better than that.
But thanks for coming on the podcast. It was nice having you on here and just getting a perspective for the listeners, kind
Thank
of
you.
how it felt and how the track was.
No problem. Thank you.
Yep. Good luck, man. All right, we're getting back to our just a recap of Fulton. That was Dillon Cardwell came home with the win this week in the figure eight, the Worthy Bell Bonds figure eight class. Great run, Dillon. I know they give you a lot of crap over there, but and we give you crap too. But it's always nice to see guys, someone that puts in a lot of work, or there's a lot of time in them cars, be able to go out and compete and drive it down for a win. It's always fun to see that. But after Heat 4, that's where we left off. At Heat 5, we had Jake Timbrook coming out in his old number 3 car, showing that he can still do it, getting it done. Clinton Hartley getting second place. That guy was on cloud 9 when he came out there. He said, "Man, I can't believe I made the feature." And Blaine Tobin gave him a good run, game up third, just a little short, just right out there. Him and Landon Dow are battling it out. Nathan Dummermuth, I don't know what happened halfway through that race. It looked like his wheel got bent or something. And man, he just kept her hammered. And that I was worried other parts were going to break. But that wheel, you could see it just wobbling on my videos on the YouTube page there. Alan Fisher coming up 6th place, Jay Stark 7th, Josh Womack coming in 8th place, and 9th was Dustin Thompson. This was a good heat though, fun heat to watch. A lot of action on the track, a lot of mini races throughout. Um, what is this? Getting Snapchats from old Henry Ray. He likes to get me excited. Always sending me stuff that gets me pumped up. But I love Fair Week here at Eldon. All the locals usually come out of the woods for this one, and it's going to be some good shows. But Heat 6, we had 6 heat races in this one, just over 60 cars, I think, on the figure eight, and I think over a total of just about 100 cars total for the night. So that was really good to see. As thanks to all the drivers that came out and supported the show. Means a lot to me as brother Jacob Joshua. I help with Lucky Sevens a lot, and it really means a lot for us to, we put in a lot of work that you guys don't see. and I know they put in a lot of extra time to try to make the sport as good as they can, make the night go on as smooth as it can. We all look like ducks on top of the water is a famous quote from Stephen Adams in the Hard Nosed Derby podcast. Says, looks like ducks on top of the water, but underneath, man, their feet's always churning. They're always running and doing something. But Heat 6, Nick Long getting out to another strong heat race, showing that he can get it done. Johnny Egger getting second, Jonathan Summers in third, or Johnny Summers, Bryce Womack, or Bryce Wather in fourth. He had that baby shark car, new car. It's fun. The crowds really took into that. They loved to see him at. Joshua Craig coming in fifth place, the Magic Man. Josh Powers in sixth, Jerry White in seventh. Hadn't seen Jerry at a show in a long time. It was fun to see him back out there. Brought a pretty stock car. His parts and pieces were all over the track by the end of the heat race. But it was fun seeing him back out there. Otho Fowler getting eighth, and Dylan Chilton suffering a loss, port failure, coming home in ninth place. That was your heat. So your top two in each heat moved on. Like I said, we took one out of each B, or that's what we were supposed to do. So here's where it gets interesting, ladies and gentlemen. In our B main number one, we had a battle for the ages going on. Dillon Chilton, Dylan White, Corey Burton, all up there battling side by side. And guess what? Dylan White bringing home the win. Battles throughout you just got to go watch the video. There was battles, drivers that were running three wide, battling for position. But that's how it ended up. Dylan White first, taking the transfer spot. Dylan Chilton barely missing it. And Corey Burton missing the transfer. B main number two comes out. Best race of the night, hands down. B main number two comes out. Dylan Chilton. Braden Cleathermos, Zach Burton, Chad Bish, all battling it out. Comes down, white flag comes out. Zach's got the lead, Braden in second. Braden flies past him into the corner. And then they come back. Zach goes dips underneath them, dirt track move. He's leading into the final corner. Braden does the slide job on him. Then Zach ducks underneath, and or it might have been vice versa. I don't know how it really went down, but it was a race for the ages. Them guys come across the line from my angle, from Joshua's angle, dead heat. We're zooming in on these cameras, phones, like videos, zooming in on them. All you can see, if you draw a line across where they said the finish line was, middle of that tire, them guys are bumper to bumper. And you could draw a straight line across there to touch both bumpers. It was amazing. Great show. Awesome for the crowd to watch. We sat up there, talked about it, said, you know what? They drove so hard. It's too close to call. We're taking both. The track can hold it. We're taking both. So both of them get the transfer spot. And then B main number 3 rolls out. Landon Dow, Nathan Dummermuth, Dylan Chilton driving his other car. He comes out there, and Dylan puts it in victory lane over Landon. Landon and Dylan had a good race going on for a while, but Dylan got the win at the end. And so Nathan Dummermuth, the legend, missing out on the feature. Landon Dow, someone's proved to be fast all year long, missing out on a feature. Corey Burton missing out on a feature. We go down. You can look at each one of them heat races, the videos and the heats, the Bs. They're so competitive nowadays. You get drivers up here and you can't pick out a winner. And that's good for the sport. It's good for anyone that follows the sport, and it's good for you guys as competitors to know. Just because you didn't make it this week doesn't mean you're not going to make it next week. And just like Dillon Cardwell, first time he's made a feature all year and he wins it. So you guys are showing it right now. The part of the hardest battle is just getting in the feature. Once you get in the feature, you might set sail, but you got to make it first. And that goes out to you guys as drivers. Well, before, we had the B mains, and then right after the B mains, we decided we were going to have the full size demolition derby come out there. We had Rob Hewer, Eric Shores, Jerry Smith, Joe Martin, Trey Hewer, Austin Martin, Austin White, Mark Isgrig, Mark Hinkle, Robbie Kelly, all of them guys showing up. Thank you for coming out. Rob Hewer bringing home the win. Trey Hewer coming home second, making junk out there. Love it. Telling Eric Shores he better break it off or he's going to back it to the berm and send it. And guess what? Once he found out there was three, he jumped up there and broke that stick. Don't blame him though, because he knew it was coming. Trey was driving his dad's car. He was fighting transmission problems for his own car. Dad let him drive one of his cars. He said, I talked to Trey afterwards during the A main. I think you can kind of hear our conversation for the figure eight. We were talking up there. And he said that, Dad let him have that car, let him drive that car. And so he's going to wish him a happy Father's Day and do the due diligence of saying, look, it's your car. I'm not going to make you fight for this one. And he just broke off in second. Put on show though. Anyone that was there has seen videos. They can attest to that. Trey was there to make junk, and he did. One of my favorite shots of the night was when Rob come across the track. I don't remember on which car, but he 45'd on one. He took one frame rail, and then perfectly timed. You could tell them guys drive together. Trey was right behind him. Put his point of the bumper right on the other frame rail and shoved it to the dirt. And that guy, I'm making a TikTok on it actually right after this. Probably airs up tomorrow. You should see it, but it's on how to bend a car, and that there is when you put two rails to one, bad things happen to the one rail usually. So but we want to thank all you guys for coming out. Right, the turning point of the derby I felt like was when Trey pushed Joe Martin over the berm, and it seemed like right after that happened, the battle was on between the Martins and the Hewers, and the Hewers came out on top this time. Great job. Thanks everybody for coming on that one. Right after that, we get right into our A main. Dillon Cardwell, we went through this with him. He came out, jumped out. He was trailing back behind Nick Long and behind Jake Timbrook, and both them cars suffered from failure. Some of it was team on team combat. Some of it was due to things that happen during races, and that was that happens. So Dillon was able to jump out in the lead, and he kind of set sail on the field right after that happened, and he drove a good race. You can't really pick out too many mistakes. I'm sure he went back and watched the video, and he might have picked out a couple of mistakes he made, but he was fast enough and ahead enough to to keep his lead. My favorite battle was watching him and Dylan Chilton during that A. They were going for like the last 6 laps. They were side by side. We had a red flag, and we didn't really know who was winning at that time. Like I didn't. I wasn't staring at that computer, but the transponder showed Dillon was winning. Dillon Cardwell was winning, but I didn't know if Chilton was right behind him or if he got lapped. I didn't really know. Found out later he actually got lapped, but I thought they were racing for the win at the end of that race, and I was kind of going crazy on the microphone. And luckily, there's only two speakers, so a lot of people couldn't really hear over the cars out there. But it turned out to be a good race, and I love seeing that side by side racing and people, trying to get each and every drop out of their car they can, and it was a battle, and I loved seeing it. They were driving each other fairly clean, and if it was for the win, they made it look like it was for the win, but it wasn't. But that sure looked like it in a lot of people's eyes. But after our A main and the figure eight, our gut and go class came out. I think we had 24 of them things show up. Thank you to everybody that came out in the gut and go class. I didn't know what to record. Part of my problem was I had a glare. One of the lights was pointed right at my camera, right where I was standing. So I had a big glare in my screen. But there was so much action out on the track. It was hard to judge like who to record. But at one point in time, I seen old Kurt Turpin. He kind of went down track and made a hit, and he flew down to the other end, and you see him like kind of looking out the back end of that van. And on the other end of the track, there's a guy with the same number as him, and I'm like, oh, this is gonna be the one. And Kurt let it eat all the way across the track. I mean, sent Jerry in the back of the van, knocked his helmet off. Jerry White was riding with him, but awesome hit. Crowd goes crazy. Um, got a really good video sent to me of the hit from Austin Roark, and he sent me the video, and I said, "Dude, you want me to post that up?" I said, "Oh yeah," and his emotion in the video said it all. I loved hearing that. Did a great job, and uh, it got a lot of views because of just the emotion and the hit. I mean, when you hit someone at 40 mile an hour in reverse, tends to get a lot of attention. So, but we appreciate you all. Jordan Tobin bringing home the win. Drove a really smart derby. Stayed out of everybody's way, and him and Zach Burton were just teeing off on them vans. They were just taking wheels out one after another. And Jordan took Wes Jordan was in on that too. It was awesome to watch you guys just go out there and you're picking apart vans, and uh, it's good to see Paul Arnell out there, and Landon Worthy, and Travis Logan was out there in a van. Noah Kenny put on a pretty good show. Brenton Holsharp come out there with a van, and he made a couple good shots before someone took off his back wheels. I think that was the one of the Tobin cars. But David Shaw had that old school van. It was cool to see. I was shocked that thing is a unibody. I didn't even know that. Like when I was pulling up, I was like, there ain't no way that thing's gonna run. And get up underneath of it, dang, that thing's just like all the other minivans. Just caught it right at the right gear changes, and uh, man, that thing, he did good in that thing. I think he said he had rear end problems, and he's gonna have that van back out sometime later on in the year. He didn't really say where, but it'll be back somewhere. It was nice to see Johnny Edgar and Adam Corpenine out there. They did pretty good. And that 15R Riley Rice, I don't know what that thing was, but everybody wants to know because that vehicle was hard. Um, it was fun. We kind of heard some of the crowds. They're like, "Dude, there's flames coming out of that car. It's got a built engine and stuff like that." But we can tell you guys, these guys are running stock engines and these gut and goes. They're not putting in that much time for anything like that. But good show. It was fast paced. There wasn't no Mad Dog money put up, and um, it shocked me. Everybody still drove pretty hard, considering. I know they would drove a little harder if there was some Mad Dog money up, but just didn't have that support yet for that show, and we'll see. I know there's some people working on trying to get some Mad Dog money together for Eldon, so we'll see what comes of that. But let's take a look real quick, real fast here. before we end this podcast, we got here we go. Just some pictures here of the winners. Anyone that's following on the YouTube, that's Jordan Tobin right there. He won the gut and go. Dillon Cardwell winning the figure eight. He had a crowd. That's the wild card racing team getting in on that. Love seeing all the smiling faces. Rob Hewer bringing home the win. Happy Father's Day to Rob from Trey. Let's go through here real quick. That's the Leland Bell. Chopped his hair off. I didn't even recognize him. But good job, Leland. Winning the powder puff. That was the queen. Lexus Ferguson again, bringing it home. And Samantha Chapman bringing home second in the powder puff. That's Trey Hewer bringing home second the full size. That was that third place in Let and Go was Kyle Wordenhausen. That was in that picture right there, that is Eric Shores. First time making the podium. Congrats, Eric. Tommy Bedsworth with Team Dillon bringing home second. We talked to his brother earlier. And third place right there is Derek Dudley in the Mod Compacts. That's Hunter, the Roadrunner Bish, bringing home the second. He's having a really good year in the youth bump and running class. And that's Kurt Turpin bringing home second. The gut and goes. Great run. I was kind of shocked how long he lasted out there in the gut and go class with the numbers. He said that he felt like he had the numbers against him, and he ended up running her down to second. So, but that's Dustin Ferguson bringing home second in the figure eight. Dylan Chilton third, and that's Quentin Hartley bringing home fourth place. Kyle Wordenhausen third in gut and go. Johnny Edgar fastest lap of the night. There was $75 to the driver that came the furthest. Pretty sure Josh was settled up with that driver. He came from Illinois, left early, and if he hasn't settled up with you, contact me on Facebook. I know they were trying to work that out last time I heard. So, but let's see here. Last week, just some local stuff before we end this podcast. Last week, Showtime's officials had Higbee, Missouri hot stock winner was Grant Bowling. Austin Schaefer was in second. Dustin Schaefer third. Mad Dog Dustin Kelsey. Compact, Cody Bedsworth winning it. Tyler Pickens second. Trent Llewellyn third. Mad Dog was Big D Derek Dudley. In the gut and go class, old Caden Papadopoulos. Teddy's daughter bringing home the win. Riley Rice in second. And in third place, they didn't list. But Mad Dog was Seth the West Floor. He sent it. He had that Hawk 2 shirt on there, and they were giving him crap about that. I was kind of getting a kick out of the video I was watching. I think who went live for that? The Derbies of the Show Me State went live for that derby, and also the Hard Nosed Derby podcast went live for some of those derbies. This week on tap, we got a big week in front of us. This Thursday night, June 27th, 2024, 7 p.m. start time. We have our 2024 Miller County Bump and Jam show. We're going to have bone stock, figure eight racing, bump and run action, and side-by-side racing. That's always a show that you do not want to miss. Got our sponsors there on the bottom of that flyer. There's still time to sponsor some of the point fund here. If you're listening to this podcast, want to get your name out there, I announce each and every one of these sponsors at every show. talk about them a little bit, each and every one. But we also have our Friday night, June 28th, 7 p.m., 750 to win. We have our Worthy Bell Bonds figure eight, night number 4, taken to the track. Dillon Chilton finds himself in the point lead, but he's got a lot of drivers hot on his tail. We are going to have another great night of racing action. Be sure to be there for that one. You won't want to miss it. But yeah, you don't want to miss it. The top 10 in the figure eight right now is Dillon Chilton, Dustin Jordan second, Nick Long in third. Jake Tunbrook finds himself in the top 5. And in fourth place, Dylan White in fifth. Blaine Tobin sixth, Jared Snurch in seventh, Landon Dow in eighth, and ninth is Jordan Piter, and 10th is Dillon Cardwell. So the battle's heating up. 55 points separating 10th to first. That can change overnight. We're seeing it each and every week. The names are shuffling. We've gone 3 weeks without a back-to-back, without a multiple winner. We'll see if the same thing happens on Friday. I will say we went and got the track set up. It's going to be hard and fast. It's going to be a good night of racing. A lot of fairgoers going to be there to support you guys. And then on Saturday night, we have our Miller County Fair Demolition Derby featuring full size. I believe that's supposed to be street stocks, compact welds, gut and go action. We hope to see everybody out there. It's going to be a good show. Like I said, we usually have some local step up to sponsor some Mad Dogs. Right now, I haven't talked to the boys to see where we're at on that right yet, but it's going to be a good show. It's going to be a fun one to watch, and I know be a lot of drivers that are going to come out and support that and put on a show like they always do. We thank everybody for all your support this time. Supporting the YouTube channel, we appreciate it each and every time you click on that like, follow button, subscribe button. Anytime that you comment on any video, it helps us get extra views throughout the countries. We're in like 78 countries right now on our YouTube, maybe 150. I can't remember what it really said on there, but I can tell you there's so many people watching these videos from other countries and just seeing what's going on in the U.S. and replicating it. It's growing the sport in their home countries, and we're starting to see more and more figure eights pop up around the United States, and it's good to see. It's good to see that the sports are growing and the competition level is really taking off. In Demolition Derby, we're seeing Demo had its Combat Motorsports first airing, and seems like there's some big names jumping on board with them, and all that's going to trickle down. You guys, some people don't see it that way. Some people don't see the big names that are getting behind these shows and the big sponsorships, and but what that's going to lead to, it's going to be good for the sport. You're going to start seeing local guys become professional drivers on a whole new level. We always put them in that bracket, but we're going to see it as if they were in NASCAR eventually. And I'm going to back anything that helps grow the sport, helps any motorsport driver foresee their dreams, especially in combat motorsports, as they say it on the demo site. But we thank each and every one of you for joining in. Sorry, it's just me tonight. The boys are out doing. Jacob and I were working on the track earlier today. We're getting the poles for the transponders set, and I know there's games tonight for Joshua's kids. My kids are out of town for the next 3 weeks, so I'm just gonna be a loner probably on here for a while until they find time, and that's fine. But we appreciate you tuning in to another episode of the Crash It Podcast. We thank you for all your support again, and we'll see everybody out there this week through the Miller County Fair. And like I always say, go out there, send it and bend it. It's going to be an amazing show. See you all there.